welcome once again to Cinema One and Only number 20. From May 1st to May 7th, this is our Easter week number 6. My name's Mr. J, and this is our index explanation of what we have on our playlist this week. We start the playlist off with Deep Astrology, as we usually do, from the Leo King. And we've added a few new sections this week to our pole shift news information, but this is a section where we cover news that you don't hear on your mainstream network news. Things about Planet X, the pole shift, and the updates that we hear from week to week in 2018. All right, after that we need a little relaxation music. This week our presentation is from the acoustic sounds of guitar instrumentals, ukulele instrumentals, mostly Hawaiian music. And then we wake you up a little bit with Kansas, some of our favorite selections, songs that we're working on for our music show. And we're gonna check in a little bit with John Sebastian, latest news coming from him. One hour of bluegrass and country and western music to get you geared up for Johnny Cash and the Highwaymen, this week's concert, leading us into our Saturday sessions from CBS this morning. We repeat certain performances that are exceptionally good, and some of the songs are songs that we'd like to work on and learn. Had a clip this week from the Ellen Show with Kelly Clarkson. Nice rendition of Malagueña from Roy Clark. And this week, instead of our usual classical gas instrumental, this week is performed by Glenn Campbell. And our weekly guitar instrumentals by Dan Holloway. I should say Dan Holloway. Some drone footage, once again, the area where we live. This begins our section of touring the world, and this week we introduce a music video that we're going to use to introduce this section. Hopefully this is a song and a title that you'll enjoy, and a number of Mongolian adventures this week for our Around the World series. And the Lord's Prayer begins our spiritual section. Part 2, David Icke explaining the Middle East situation. More news on the pole shift. And our whistleblowers, Corey Good, David Wilcock, and Stephen Greer, are featured in our spiritual section, linking our UFOs, Antarctica, top secret government information, linking it all together with the ancient Sumerian Anunnaki scriptures that tell us pretty much the same thing happened back in their time. And if you'd like to catch up on any of these, go back to my previous Cinema One and Only, beginning with number 1, with The Lost Book of Inky. For the next 14 weeks we covered that. We are now up to the Book of Enoch, and this is the first tablet of the Book of Enoch. After all of this heavy thinking, we need to get back into the music again. And after we have some interludes with some interesting violin music, we take you back to the 50s and into the 60s and the 70s. Our concerts and continuing our Woodstock memorabilia. We have a couple of concerts from Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young this week. Back to the Woodstock, Paul Butterfield Blues Band, Sha-Na-Na, Jimi Hendrix. Here's those two concerts. An early one from 1973 and 1991, almost 20 years later. I almost think they were better in this one, but watch them, you tell me. Woodstock. Then we bring up the cinema portion of our 100-year retrospect in entertainment, starting off with a serial trailer. This is a silent movie that starred W.C. Fields from 1926, and a few Betty Boop animated features. A color Little Rascal feature this week. This is a Shirley Temple movie for the week. Trailers. And this is an Our Gang silent film, the 13th one they made. And our series this week, our movie series, continues the Sherlock Holmes early movies from the 1933 to 1938 era. And we pick up with Warner Oland playing Charlie Chan. We started the early ones last week, and we're continuing this week. We're up to 1935 and 36. Sherlock Holmes from 1951. This is a TV episode. And this week's Sons of the Pioneers show is Melody Roundup. And not much in the ventriloquism section this week. No Edgar Bergen or Charlie McCarthy, but we do have a few clips in this documentary of ventriloquism. Our Comic Weekly man starts off Western section, the Gene Autry radio show, Chapter 7 of Phantom Empire, and leads us into the Hopalong Cassidy movies. I should say movie. From 1936, and when we finish the Western section down here, you'll see we have one from 1941. And the Three Musketeers, the serial and the movie, two different groups. After the movie, we have the TV series. The very first TV episode of Hopalong Cassidy, and we've been running these every week. We're up to number 20 now, So we follow that. For those of you that might have missed the first episode, Roy Rogers TV episode, a Cisco Kid color TV episode. Which brings us back to the Comic Weekly Man. This time we jump up to 1952 and begin our science fiction section with Tom Corbett, Chapter 1, or Part 1, Space Cadets. Flash Gordon radio show. This is the second radio show that was on this week, broadcast in 1935. There it is there, May 4th, 1935. And then we are up to number 20 of that series. So this is episode number 20. And we are also up to chapter 8 in the movie serial. I was going to say the TV version. I saw these on TV when they released them for my generation. Another movie that came out in my generation's time, the 1950s, is The Invasion of the Saucermen. A very unbelievable movie, but enjoyable. If you remember one of the actors in here, you might remember from the Batman TV series, Frank Gorshin. And another science fiction movie, Tobor the Great. Tobor is robot, spelled backwards. They had a TV series which used the same name, different characters, but same idea as the movie. And they had an animated series geared towards college students for the Tobor Saturday morning 1960s era. This is back to the 50s, science fiction TV with Johnny Jupiter. And robots on that show too. And also in that time era, of course, was Howdy Doody, the first show to come on TV in the afternoons when I was a kid. And Howdy Doody, first part of this is Buffalo Bob being interviewed. After that interview is over, I would say skip to the end and go to the next one, which is the Frankenstein letters. This is beginning the very first chapters of Frankenstein being read every week right up until Halloween. So this would be episodes 1 through 3. And we end our section up science fiction area with part 2 of Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, from the part 1 that you heard earlier. And now we jump into the jungle section with Tarzan of the Apes. We have a half-hour radio show, then episodes of Tarzan that were the early 1932 episodes, 20 years prior to the other show. And again, this is a radio show that was done in a 39-part series, and this is episode 8 of that show. And another episode from the Diamonds, or the Diamond of Ashur. This is episode 20. We have some previews from a few Tarzan movies and 2 episodes this week in color from the Tarzan TV series. And jumping back in time, you see the New Adventures of Tarzan, Chapter 5. It's a serial from the 1930s, which brings us into our superhero section with Superman. All of these are little clips from the TV episodes of Superman. This is an amateur production of a Superman episode done by fans on the internet, using some of the clips from the 1950s Superman. More Superman. Batman. This is an audio. Origin of Batman. And this week we have a number of clips once again with our superheroes, how it should have ended. These are all animated clips about 5 minutes long. Fun little satire clips. Even gets into Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek. This week we are up to Chapter 8 of Captain America and Episode 7 of Prince Namor. Color episodes of The Lone Ranger this week. A radio episode bringing us into a radio episode of The Green Hornet. Usually the Lone Ranger, the Green Hornet, and the Shadow were run together on the radio. Oh, and here we go. See, there's the Shadow. From 1938, May 1st of this week. Then we jump to the TV shows. These are previews, or actually they're introductions to 1950s television shows. And this is a complete show, our 17th show in the run. Mickey Rooney and Topper. This is the 11th show, as you can see. Suspense with Bela Lugosi. Not sure if that's a radio or a TV. I think it's a TV show. And this is a Dick Tracy TV show. Yes, those are TV shows. That brings us into an animated feature from 1944. Dick Tracy Chapter 5 is a serial shown in the theaters in 1938, along with serials like Smiling Jack. We're up to Chapter 8 in that serial. And Dick Tracy. We're going to run Dick Tracy, the very first serial, again, beginning with Chapter 1. And we have 3 Dick Tracy movies to follow. And we finish the section up again with another animated feature from 1945. And a little short Three Stooges comparison. Black and white with Curly to a color version. And Whatever Became of the Three Stooges is a radio show, beginning our radio section, continuing with Jack Benny, Amos and Andy, Aramis Brooks, My Friend Irma, Sam Spade, that's a detective show. Gunsmoke with a Shadow once again. And our Bible movie this week is The Story of Esther. And as we end with our Lakeland short. And if you weren't aware of it, I'll let you know now. At the end of our videos, we run another horoscope, this time from Gregory Scott, and he's usually giving the horoscope not only for this last day of the week of this playlist, but projecting ahead to the next week. And then if there is any substantial earthquake information, we would put it here at the end of this. And after this, we'll follow our weekly Cinema One and Only Index, which shows our daily presentations and our weekly presentations on the weekend for movies. Let's see if we can get down there and show it to you. Sometimes the focus gets out on this. All right. All right, we're going to go over to the beginning of the week. We run like one disc a day from 4 different sections. And the first section is Smallville right now. And we are up to the 9th season of Smallville this week. And when we finish a season in the middle of the week, like we did, we go to the next season automatically. So this would be season 10. As you can see. And season 10 was the final season of Smallville, so we'll be ending Smallville and progressing to a new series, as we have already done with the second position, which is now being held by The Flash, finishing up that. 1 disc a day. And when we finish The Flash, we then go into Arrow. And when Arrow is finished, now this is the first season of Arrow, then our third position is being held by Gotham, and that's the second season of Gotham we're finishing up. And we finish that and start the Daredevil series this week. And this is the series that was from Netflix. And then the fourth position is being held by the science fiction series called Dune. And that's finishing up this week. And with that, we're starting the television classics, the science fiction classics. 1 disc a day. So I believe the first disc is Flash Gordon, the Steve Holland Flash Gordon. And disc 2 continues that. Space Angel. That completes disc 2. Disc 3 has Captain Zero. Disc 4, more Captain Zero. Tales of Frankenstein. I don't know how far this goes. The Shadow. There's more Johnny Jupiter shows. Coincidence. Disc 3, Disc 4, Disc 5, Disc... How far do we go here? Stamp Day for Superman. That was a good little short. One Step Beyond. That was a good show. Rocky Jones, Space Ranger. That was a good show too. We have some of those on our playlist. I'm going to check back. Well, that's as far as we're going to go for right now. On the weekends, we have Hollywoodland playing in the first position, where we usually have an animated feature, but this is the story of Superman, or the story of the man who played Superman, George Reeves. It's a true story. And we started Daredevil this week on the dailies, and he's playing this weekend in this version of Daredevil is the unedited, and it is much better than the theater version. And then this week we are doing Superman 3. And Star Wars The Force Awakens is our feature for this week. And that's it. Yes, that is it. We'll be back next week with more. And hopefully we'll have the sound a little bit better this week. I tried something a little different with the sound by moving away, and I'm not sure if it's going to come out all right. But if not, we'll check back next week and fix it. All right, till next week, Mr. J saying bye-bye. Enjoy.